Just about a year ago, the first video I ever posted to this channel explained an idea for a challenge I had for myself. That challenge was to complete at least one game for each of the playable characters in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I wanted to do this not only out of curiosity about the characters I wasn't familiar with, but also because I know that one of the prerequisites for a character getting into Smash is having a great game or franchise behind them. I felt I was missing out on a lot of these games and series, so what better way to broaden my gaming horizons than to use the Smash Ultimate roster as a guideline for upcoming games to complete. I made that first video back in January of 2021, and now, since it's been about a year since the challenge kicked off, I thought I'd make an update video detailing my progress so far. One thing to make note of is that last year marked the release of the final 3 Smash DLC characters, which weren't revealed at the time of the original video. With the addition of Pyra and Mythra, Kazuya, and Sora, the total hours to complete this challenge has been upped by a considerable 96. Add this to my original total hours to completion from the previous year, 627, and it brings the grand total to a whopping 723 hours. Also, it's important to note that this number is not including any characters for games I've already beaten. For example, I've beaten Ocarina of Time, so a game that features Link, Young Link, Zelda, Sheik, or Ganondorf is not included in the total hours. Even so, for someone like me who spent about 2 decades playing Nintendo games, it's surprising how much ground I still have to cover. Last year was pretty busy, and of course, this challenge wasn't my sole focus. Some things got in my way, like all the amazing new releases from Nintendo last year. They came fast and furious, and naturally I went all in on playing and reviewing those. And then, you know how sometimes you just get an uncontrollable urge to play a certain game? Like, I didn't expect to do a full Metroid series replay after Dread's E3 announcement, but that kinda happened too. And of course, I always come back to some of my mainstay titles from time to time. Three Houses, Pikmin 3 Deluxe, and Smash Ultimate never seem to leave my Switch for very long. Plus, Melee, Picross, Tetris 99, and the new Animal Crossing updates still occupy my time to this day. Then there was Pokemon Unite, a game I was hardly even anticipating, which ended up eating quite a few hours of my game time last year. You can't really predict this stuff. But with that being said, I did get through a considerable chunk of my challenge spreadsheet. Now, here we are in early January of 2022, and I put a total of 141 hours between 5 different games toward this challenge, shaving off around a fifth of the total time. This brings my grand total of hours remaining to 585 and 33 more games to complete. I'm no Gerard the Completionist, but I gotta say I'm pretty proud of what I got done in just a year. For today's video, I'm going to go through each of the 5 games I completed and give some brief thoughts and opinions. 4 of them actually already got their own dedicated videos, and the final game, which is pretty massive, will be getting its own in the near future. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss that one when it drops, and check out the channel for my completed retrospectives on all of the other games mentioned. Okay, let's get started. EarthBound, or Mother 2, was the very first game I completed for this challenge. It's one I've wanted to finish for a very long time, and seeing Ness in Smash Bros over the years is one of my main inspirations for taking this challenge on in the first place. EarthBound is a classic SNES RPG that, like a lot of these games, I knew I was going to love, I just hadn't committed to it yet. It's been nagging in my backlog for years, and I'm proud to have finally finished it. I really loved EarthBound. It's one of my fondest gaming memories from last year because of just how unique it is. I always knew it was a quirky game, but I didn't realize just how ridiculous it was. The moment to moment can be so utterly absurd. Like, why is this apple kid and this orange kid? Why is there a giant pencil-shaped rock in my way? And what's the deal with this town that's all completely black, white, and neon colors? I'm not showing it here because you really just have to experience it for yourself. But the thing about EarthBound is, the entire way through, behind the goofy exterior, it tells a heartwarming story that touches on genuinely thought-provoking themes. It plays with the classic conflict of pure, innocent kids questioning and opposing greedy, corrupt adults in a unique way. It blends absurd humor with light social commentary, creating an experience that both children and adults can enjoy equally. But if you are a kid playing this game, I think it can be a bit difficult. The game's definitely not easy. There are a few bosses you'll encounter that provide a considerable challenge. There's some really memorable fights here, and if it's not those that'll be stuck in your mind long after the game is done, it's the fantastic music, sprite work, and game world that EarthBound boasts. In my opinion, EarthBound is a must-play regardless if you play turn-based RPGs or not. Luckily, it's still available on the 3DS and Wii U eShops, so if you have either of those systems, get it while you still can. All things considered, EarthBound is easily a top 5 game I played last year, and I can't believe I let it sleep for so long. Though I've played WarioWare games in the past, I wasn't sure if I ever rolled credits on one. But this year, I changed that by completing not just one, but 2 WarioWare games, Smooth Moves for the Wii and the recently released Get It Together for Switch. For the sake of this challenge, I'll talk about Smooth Moves, as that was the one I completed first in anticipation for Get It Together. Plus, I just talked about the latter in my recent Game of the Year video, so I'll spare you the details this time. WarioWare Smooth Moves for the Nintendo Wii filled me with joy, something WarioWare games never seem to fail to do. I grew up with the Wii, so I've pretty much seen every Wiimote gimmick in the book. But WarioWare Smooth Moves uses the motion control in such fun and clever ways that it actually felt refreshing going back to the 15-year-old hardware. From holding it to my face like an elephant's trunk to pick off apples from a tree, to placing it flat on my desk and snatching it up to answer a ringing phone, WarioWare takes full advantage of this unique input device. Of all the motion-centric party games on the Wii, which there are a lot of, this is definitely one of the must-plays. I have to say, it's right up there with Get It Together as one of the finest entries in the series, and especially with Smooth Moves, there's never a dull moment. I really enjoyed the fast-paced nature of the rapid-fire microgame challenges. At harder difficulties, they can provide a serious adrenaline rush. And on the other hand, just taking it slow with some simple microgames can be a great change of pace from how we typically play video games. Another strong recommendation from me, Smooth Moves is also on the Wii U eShop, so definitely check it out if interested. Castlevania was a series I knew nothing about. And after playing the NES version of the original game last spring, I have to say I'm now a fan. I can sometimes have a bit of trouble getting myself through these retro games, especially the more difficult ones. But I'm glad to report that Castlevania was an exception, and a really pleasant surprise. It wasn't all butterflies and rainbows though. At first, the controls felt very stiff and rigid, and I didn't think I was going to like them at all. But I warmed up to them pretty quickly and ended up having no problems after just a few hours. It shocked me how the controls went from problematic to second nature in just one play session. And though Castlevania was really difficult and took me quite a while to beat, I flew right through at a good pace and didn't lose interest in the slightest. Even though I was dying a lot, that wasn't changing the fact that I was having a lot of fun, and trying to conquer levels that were giving me a hard time was an addicting challenge. As an arcade-style action platformer, Castlevania was a welcome and interesting change of pace to a genre of games that I typically play a lot of. The game is pretty gorgeous for an NES title too, and most of the locales the game takes you to are fun to traverse and super memorable. Plus, the bosses are amazing. Shoutouts to Dracula, one of my new favorite fights ever. Last but not least, Castlevania's music is elite. I still get those 8-bit themes stuck in my head from time to time. And now whenever I hear versions of those tracks while playing Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, I greet them with a smile. I loved Castlevania. It was one of my biggest surprise games of the year. And I can't wait to try some of the other entries to get a more modern take on the series. I thought about it, and even though Donkey Kong has been around since before I was born, I never actually beaten a game that featured King K. Rool as his main antagonist. I played Tropical Freeze about 2 years ago, but, spoilers, the croc is nowhere to be seen, so that one doesn't count. I also played DK64 back in the day, but I don't think I've ever actually rolled credits. My journey in gaming started with the Game Boy and N64, so I was slightly too young to experience the Donkey Kong Country games during their own console generation. Up until last year, I had never even beaten one of the original trilogy. Thankfully, I did have the opportunity to play Donkey Kong Country via the Nintendo Switch Online SNES service, and I'm glad I made the decision to do so. Right away, it was easy to appreciate the unique 3D, 2D style visuals and fantastic music. But what wasn't easy was the game itself. I thought Castlevania was hard, but for me, Donkey Kong Country was simply on another level. Maybe I'm just not good at the game, but I had so many failed runs. Life after life after life wasted. There were even points where I would pick up my Switch and end up putting it down an hour later with not even a single save point reached, forcing me to start the next play session from the exact same spot. That's the definition of insanity, and this game actually had me raging at some points. But all that aside, I ended up appreciating the challenge and getting addicted to trying to conquer these tough stages. It was a similar feeling to what I had with Castlevania, just on a bigger and more intense scale. Beating DKC-1 felt like a true triumphant accomplishment. And the final boss, King K. Rool, the reason why I played this game for the challenge in the first place, was, to no surprise, a gigantic pain. He took me so many tries to finally beat, but it really was such a memorable fight. If you've beat him too, you'll know exactly what I mean. Another one of the top games I've played in 2021, in my mind, Donkey Kong Country is right up there with the best of the best SNES games. If you have Switch Online, all 3 classic DKC titles are available there now, so I definitely recommend checking these out. I know I'll be diving into the other 2 as soon as I have the chance. It takes a special kind of game to make me go out of my way to acquire a whole other console just to play it. Luckily, with the arrival of the PlayStation 5, I had a friend willing to let me hang on to their PS4 for an extended period just to experience Persona 5 Royal. Shoutouts to them for allowing me to not have to shell out the cash for a full-on console that I'd only be playing one game on. Either way, I had a rocky start with Persona 5 Royal. I was confused and overwhelmed, and it took quite a while for the systems and mechanics to stick with me. I half expected this though. It's a similar phenomenon to what I experienced with Fire Emblem Three Houses last year, and that ended up being one of my favorite games of all time. At first, I caught on slowly to the game's structure and flow, but once it clicked, it really clicked. And when I got hooked, I was fully hooked. Hooked to the point where I was putting in some 6-hour days, fully engrossed in the experience. I'm lucky I did get so hooked though. Completing Persona 5 Royal was overall my biggest endeavor of the year. Clocking in at over 100 hours, it was a large time investment that, in the grand scheme of things, was well worth it. The story is top-notch, right up there with some of the best video game stories I've ever been a part of, and I truly enjoyed the group of characters I met on the journey. It's one of the most lovable groups of party members in any RPG I've played. Also, what's up with me only playing games this year that feature absolute top-level music? Every game I listed today has an unquestionably killer soundtrack, and Persona 5's might be up there with the best of the bunch. While writing this script, the game is still so fresh on my mind that it's hard to give my full, unbiased opinion. But this once-in-a-generation kind of JRPG might just be my favorite game not available on a Nintendo console. Seriously, why is this not on Switch? It would be so perfect, and I have a feeling it will come eventually. But regardless, I'm really proud to have completed Persona 5 Royal. It's been a game I've wanted to play for a really long time now, and although I didn't cross off that many characters on my Smash Bros. Challenge this year, knocking off Joker is a big 100-hour chunk gone, and that's a huge accomplishment. Finally, you might be asking, am I working on a video with all of my thoughts on Persona 5 Royal? And the answer to that is yes. Rest assured, that one is on the way. And that concludes update number 1 for my Can I Play a Game for Every Character in Smash Bros. Challenge. I had a great time knocking some long-anticipated games out of my backlog, and I hope you enjoyed hearing all about my first year of the challenge. I'll be back next year, or whenever I make enough meaningful progress, with another update on more of my thoughts on the amazing collection of video games that makes up the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate roster. Until then, I hope you enjoy all the games you play, and remember to keep it here for more quality Nintendo content like this. Thanks for watching.